Hey, it's the Profit Answer Man, Rocky Lalvani. If you're new to the podcast, check out my interview with Mike Michalowicz. It's episode number 2. If you want to hear about each chapter in the Profit First book, go back and listen to episodes 3 through 13. Episode 1 is the why and how. On the Profit Answer Man, we learn money mastery without all the complicated accounting mumbo-jumbo using a simple system. Your accountant is busy documenting your transactions and creating a rearview mirror of what happened. My guess is you don't even look at the reports they sent you. If you're like most business owners, you struggle with this, and it's not your fault. We aren't taught money in school, and accountants aren't taught how to be profitable. The Profit First system created by Mike Michalowicz works, and he certified me to help you implement the system in your business. Remember, the new equation is sales minus profit equals expenses. Let's face it, without cash flow, you can't pay your employees, buy needed materials, or pay your mortgage and support your family. I help you to do that and more, so you can focus on the parts of the business you love and receive the rewards for your labor and investment into your business. The stronger you are as a business owner, the more jobs you create, the better we are as a country. Small business owners are the backbone of America, and for that, you deserve to be well rewarded. Just remember, more revenue does not equal more profit. That's why we focus on the bottom line. Today's focus is on Profit First from a woman's perspective. Colleen Biggs has used Profit First in all of her companies, and it's a game changer. Not only will she share that, but she'll also share some tips that women business owners can take to heart, and also something for the men listening, which is about building our legacy. Colleen Biggs is an international inspirational speaker, strategic business growth coach, Chief Inspiration Pioneer, and officer of Lead Up for Women, a community that boasts tens of thousands of female entrepreneurs that are driven by their passions, support, and promote each other with purpose to fuel female voices with the power that they are leading the way for all women worldwide to dominate in the entrepreneurial market. Let's meet my friend, Colleen. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man podcast, Colleen Biggs. It's great to have you here today.
Thanks, Rocky. I'm honored to be your guest.
And I'm honored to have you. So we always like to share a little bit. Can you share with the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
I would love to. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So as you said, my name is Colleen Biggs. I'm the founder of Lead Up for Women. I launched this women's community back in January of 2019, traveled all around the United States to 10 different cities, promoting Lead Up for Women, bringing women together in a luncheon type capacity for 3 hours, where I would find local leaders and bring them in and share their stories of just challenges that they've had in business, how they've overcome those challenges. What I have found is the more that we assist each other, share our wisdom, the easier it is for us, each one of us, to be able to overcome some of those obstacles in our businesses. So that's how I started out Lead Up for Women. I'm a 30-year dropout of corporate America and now an entrepreneur of my own. I have 3 businesses. I not only run Lead Up for Women, which is a community for women to come together, to step into the spotlight, to expand their influence. I do that through many different ways, our magazine, our podcast, through workshops. Our members get the opportunity to constantly be in the spotlight, because for me, it's all about attracting the right clients, not doing the hustle and going fishing for them. And so I also took my experience of being a consultant and coach for over 18 years, launching over 300 businesses. I now work with women in launching businesses, scaling businesses. I also run an elite mastermind for women called Success to Significance. Where do we go next? You know, once we've hit that success in our lives, we want to leave a legacy. So what does that look like? And how do we want to be positioning ourselves and collaborating with other people. So we travel 4 times a year. So that's really what I'm up to. And I also have 7 kids, 11 grandkids, and an awesome husband who is a huge fan of your show, by the way.
Well, thank you. And a big thank you to him for listening and for sending that message through. So he listens because of Profit First. You guys use Profit First in all of your businesses. Can you tell me a little bit, how did you find out about Profit First?
Profit First was introduced to me from one of my clients back in corporate America. They said, hey, I read this really great book, and I would love to see the company run things this way. Have you ever read this book? I said, I haven't, but tell me the name of it. Let me check it out. So back in my corporate days, I read this book, took it to the CFO, and I said, because I worked with creating business plans for all of these owners and helping them launch their businesses. Took the book to the CFO, and I said, listen, the biggest issue that our owners seem to have is profit. That's like the biggest conversation that everyone has. And I said, why don't we look at profit a little bit differently? Is the way that this book is written. I love this book. I read it. I think it's something that we could apply. So I asked him to go away and read it and come back. And he came back to me. Now, he's a typical CPA. So if you remember from the book, because you break this book down all the time, Rocky, some CPAs have a really tough time wrapping their brain around this type of plan of how we break down profit, or how we visualize profit, in which the order in which it goes in. So I think there was a struggle in grasping really that type of plan. So I decided, well, I'm going to introduce it to my husband so we can start running that in one of our businesses. So I did. We went on a road trip, put the book on. We listened to it the whole way there, the whole way back. My husband came back, applied it right away into our business, and changed the game. Totally changed. I mean, he increased revenue in his business, completely changed the game. Our daughter-in-law started doing that. We sent her the book. She got on board with it. So little by little, we've been getting the kids on board with it, just like we did, Dave Ramsey back in the day. Raising our kids, it was all about not having debt, really focusing on living within your means, having a little nest egg put away. So, this was just kind of like the natural next step for us now in our businesses. So even though I couldn't get the big corporation to shift the way they were thinking, I was able to apply that in our business, which we saw, a huge uptick in revenue, because it's a mindset shift is really what it becomes.
And that's very much what it is a mindset shift. And it's not unusual for accountants and CFO types to look at this and go, that's silly. It doesn't make sense. It's so simple. And part of it is, for them, profit is not a real number. It's not real dollars. And to them, it's kind of just a number on the bottom of the P&L, but they just assume it's spent. And so for them, it's kind of like it's fictitious. But what Profit First does, and this is how I explained it to another CFO that I talked to, I go, it puts profit on the balance sheet. And I know people here don't want to listen to these accounting terms, but basically what the balance sheet is, it's the sheet that shows all the things that you owe and all the liabilities you have. And there's actually a line item on there, which they are not used to, that says our profit account. And the cash is in that account. And so you've really got to shift and say, hey, when you implement this system, profit becomes real. It's not some fictitious number on some report somewhere, and you can see it on my balance sheet. And then that will kind of usually give them the aha moment. So you said Profit First helped you to increase revenue. How did it help you to increase revenue?
Because when you're looking at one bank account, you're looking at a large number. And just as Michael talks about in the book, when you see that large number in your bank account, you're like, we're fine with money. People would, anyone would do that in their personal checking account too. And I always tell my husband, whatever number you see in our checking account, just know that every dollar has a label, which is, what Dave Ramsey teaches. So every single one of those dollars has a label. So that money's going somewhere. It's not just going to hang out in that account for you to spend, right? And so I think it's the same for business. when we look at that large number, we think, oh, we're okay because there's a lot of money in there. But what you're not considering is all the money that you have going out. So by breaking your business up into 5 or 6 different accounts, now putting the money, and two things happen. For the first time in our lives, we had tax money that we could pay from a tax account. Before, we were trying to find the money. Now the money is always there. We always have the money to pay our taxes. We prepay, plus we have tax money sitting in that account. So by breaking it up, we always have money to pay our taxes. We always have profit money to go do fun things that we want to do, or vacations. And it breaks up the money so that your operations account and the money that you're utilizing looks a lot lower. So that large number has been broken up into so many accounts now. It's almost like you're a real business owner. I guess that's the way I want to say it. Like you put your big boy pants on, your big girl pants on, and you're running a real business. If you don't know what your expenses are, what your taxes are, what your revenue is, what your payroll should be, what type of entity you should be, these are part of being, owning a real business, not just running a hobby, but having a business, business insurance, all the things that come along with that. So by having it all broken up into different accounts, what happened for my husband and I was that number looked smaller. When that number looks smaller, you bust your butt a little bit more to bring in some additional sales. So it's like you don't become lethargic or lazy. I need to make some more money, because you're not seeing all the money in all the accounts. You're just watching that one account again. And so, but you break up that money and you keep dispersing it, twice a month or 4 times a month, that dollar amount looks much lower. And so that's how the increase of the revenue worked, because essentially your mindset shifts because you're looking at a lower number. Your back's up against the wall. You got to work harder for sale.
And that makes a lot of sense. When you see the smaller number, you can't be as complacent. You've got to hustle and bring in the next sale. And I think the word taxes comes up a lot. Whenever I talk to people who implement Profit First, one of their biggest areas that they just see that the stress melt away is tax time. Because no matter what that tax bill is, the money is there. And once again, here's someone else, Colleen, who's same story. Tax time becomes easy because you don't have to go find the money. You have the money and it's ready. As much as we all hate paying taxes, it's there for you. Mm-hmm. Just out of curiosity, what do you do with your profit distributions? It sounds like you celebrate a little bit.
Yeah, we do. We celebrate. And so my husband will say, hey, we've got profit money. We used profit for our last vacation that we took. We went away for 3.5 days, rented an RV. We just wanted to get away for the weekend, a long weekend, go drive, a few states. So we did. We rented an RV. It was so nice because we didn't have to plan for the vacation. We didn't have to plan for having the money. You don't have to put it on a credit card and then pay it off when you get back. The money's just there. And so it was really nice to be able to just say, hey, we have this much money sitting, let's just take it. And we usually use it for something like that. We'll take it on vacation or plan a vacation with it. So we use it for celebrations. And that's what works for us.
And that's perfectly fine. You work hard in your business. You should celebrate and you should be able to enjoy that. And it's nice when the money is sitting right there for you to be able to do that. You mentioned something early in the intro, which was about how to attract clients. I think everyone wants to answer that question. How do you attract clients without a lot of effort?
Yeah, what works in my business and what works for women that I work with, and why I have been so adamant about building this community of Lead Up for Women, is if you aren't being seen or heard, you're overlooked. So you might as well just stand in the shadows. It's the honest truth. So businesses that no one knows about, they go out of business. So unless you're speaking up, unless you're being seen, and unless you're being heard everywhere, to me, and in my business and what I have seen works, I attract clients to me and attract business to me. I don't go fishing. I don't run Facebook ads. I don't run Instagram ads. I don't run Google ads. So I don't go fishing for business. Business finds me based on what I do is I show up everywhere possible. So every speaking opportunity, every podcast that I'm able to be a guest on, wherever I have the opportunity to train or do a workshop or show up online or in a networking opportunity, I do. And then people get to see me, know me, get to understand who I am. And I show up exactly who I am every time. So you get the same person every time. I walk the walk, I talk the walk. I do everything so that everyone knows, like, she's not the only one just telling us to show up everywhere. She's also showing up everywhere and leading by example. And so I have people booking time with me to want to join my community and want to know how they too can step into the spotlight to expand their influence.
I think that's an important thing that people need to think about. Because too often, all the marketing agencies are telling you to buy ads everywhere. And the reality is ads get very expensive. And depending on what's advertised, if it's not in congruence with who you are, you attract the wrong type of client. And there's no guarantee of success with them. And so the way you're doing it, you're putting in time, effort, but it doesn't cost you a lot of money to do it, does it?
No, in fact, I do something every day called the word of the day, and I hook my phone up to my ring light, and this is literally takes me 10 minutes to post on about 7 different areas, and I do a 30-second video, which is the word of the day. I use one word. I talk about how that applies to something we can do in our business or in our life that week, and then I challenge each person to try it, and then I put that on YouTube. I put it on TikTok, I put it on LinkedIn, I put it on, and I can tell you this, if I paid a company $1,000 a month to run ads for me on LinkedIn or run ads for me on Facebook, no one's going to look at those. If I do a word a day, which is a 30-second video and someone's scrolling through, they'll stop to see it because it's 30 seconds. They'll get the word of the day right away. And then they'll scroll on through. So I can tell you videos, they're way more effective. And it takes me 10 minutes to post it to all these places, which gets me additional subscribers, which gets me additional followers. And again, it's just one of the pieces of something that I do on a regular basis to show up everywhere. And it's just a little bit of energy and a little bit of time.
And you don't have to hit every platform. I mean, if you're just beginning, pick one. I have 2. I do one on Facebook. I do one on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, currently, I'm doing The Road Less Stupid. So we're just talking about, how do you run your business, learning from other people's mistakes instead of making your own. And we all make them. So it's always good to learn from the advice of others, which is what you were talking about earlier as part of your groups. Is you're helping each other and preventing some of those. Out of curiosity, what do you see as some of the biggest struggles that women have in business?
I would say the number one struggle that women have in business is getting enough clients. So getting out there, being seen, not knowing how to do it, right? Because they're being sold by marketing companies that they have to pay a company to help them get all their content marketing, to create a content calendar, to get all this exposure. If you just put your mind to it and you start showing up and submitting blogs or doing videos and really getting out there and attending different networking events, exposure's probably the number one thing. The second thing is worth. Women aren't pricing themselves based on their worth. And they're looking at it. I've had coaches tell other coaches, and I'll be honest about this, that you're just getting started. So you need to charge a very nominal fee for what you're doing, and then you can increase it as you have had more experience. And I said to someone, because I've been an entrepreneur for my own business for 3 years, does that mean I have 3 years experience as an entrepreneur, or does that mean I have 20 years experience because I've launched over 300 businesses and coached over 300 CEOs? I have years and years of experience of helping business owners. That doesn't mean that I only have the credibility of running my own business for a small amount of time, right? And so I believe that we don't take our wisdom, our experience, all of the things that we've been through in life, and utilize that as how we're able to help others moving forward. And we just get very tight knit on one specific piece of experience. So women tend, and it's mainly women, they tend to underprice themselves, which is then much harder for them to gain a larger revenue pool because they're having to have so many clients versus charging a little bit more money for what they're actually worth. We have to remember people want to pay for the outcomes that they're desiring. It's not about, necessarily always just the value. It's a combination of the value you bring and what the outcome is that they're desiring, that they're going to achieve from working with you. And men have no problems with that, Rocky. And I love it that men are like, oh, I'm 15%, I'm 50% required for, what I think I can do this job. Oh, I'll totally apply for it. I'll start that business. Where women are like, oh, if I'm not even 85%, feeling like I match everything, I'm not even going to apply or do it or be afraid to charge money for something that I do. I feel like I have to give my services away for free because that's who we are as women. We serve others. It's not necessarily that's the case every time.
It's funny that you bring this up. When you charge a small amount, people only assign small value to you. They don't think that you are professional or good enough. And so more often than not, they may say no just because your price is so low. And I've talked to a lot of authors and speakers especially say this. They say, if you don't charge enough, companies will not hire you because they're like, we don't want a $5,000 speaker in front of our audience. We need a $50,000 speaker. There's no difference between a $5,000 and a $50,000 speaker other than the price tag. But there's all of this emotional baggage around the dollars that if you don't charge it, you actually may not get the business. And those same people that said no at 5,000 will say yes at 50,000.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I look at, car industries and vehicles that cost $200,000, $100,000, $80,000 versus cars that cost $25,000 or $35,000. You know exactly what you're getting with a $200,000 car versus what you're getting with a $35,000 car. And the companies that are advertising their $200,000 cars, they're not going after the demographic that purchases a $35,000 car. See, that's the difference. There is a customer at every level. You just have to decide which level it is that you want to be at. It's all mindset. Again, it's all a mindset shift. Mm-hmm.
And higher priced customers treat you better.
Yeah.
And so that's the other thing. If your customers are driving you up the wall, it's probably because you charge too little.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to up your prices to get a client that's not going to nickel and dime you and bother you so much. And that's an important part of it. What else should women business owners focus on and know?
I think the other piece that is crucial is, I come from the corporate world, like I mentioned, and there aren't a lot of executive seats at the top, for women. And not every company is this way, but some companies, the women, instead of banding together to create more opportunities for women at the executive C-suite level, they just fight over who's going to get the seat, right? So there's that issue that I want to fix, where women are banding together and cooperating and, kind of arm in arm, right? Creating opportunities for women. That to me, not only transcends from corporate, but also as entrepreneurs. If we are not seeing each other's competition, and yet we are banding together and creating partnerships and collaborations with each other and lifting each other and opening up doors and creating opportunities for other women, so much of that goes so much further for how you're able to spread your influence in other communities. And so many women will say, I teach on this too, I really believe competition, again, is a state of mind. Other women's organizations are not competition of mine. In fact, I partner with them and I say, hey, if you want to be a member of Lead Up for Women, you get 30 days free with this other organization who is also a women's organization. So I want you to go check out theirs, because now you can expand your influence in a whole nother community. What she does is different than what I do, is different than what every single one of us do. We have to remember our experience, our wisdom, and everything of who we are and our uniqueness is what we bring to what we do. So the more women collaborate and surround themselves with a tribe of other women, they will go faster, further, quicker, and they will rise to the top and bring in more revenue, period. It's just the way it works.
And that is true. And I think that's one of those ahas that people also struggle with is, if you're going to be constantly competing and beating each other down, neither of you is going to grow bigger. When you start working together and supporting each other, you all grow bigger. And I've heard that from multiple people in multiple industries, even in the home building industry, which can be competitive. The builders came together to work together, and they all did so much better than when they fought against each other. Because who wants to race to the bottom? It's much nicer to race to the top, right?
All boats rise together. We've heard it our entire lives, yet so many people still fight the system.
That is so true. You brought up a topic that I have not really discussed on this podcast. We discuss it a lot on my other one, which is legacy. And I think, at some point in the business owner's journey, they start thinking about legacy. What does legacy mean to you?
What legacy means to me is what value did I leave behind? What changes and impacts did I make in people's lives that they remember me by? And that's really a legacy to me, is when I'm gone and I'm no longer here, what are people thankful for? How did I impact their lives? How did it change, them for the better, or someone that they knew? So to me, that's what legacy means. What was the true impact, and how do you measure what that impact was that you had on someone's lives or someone's business or someone's family, that just changed everything for them? So to me, that's legacy. And we should care more about how others are affected and become a better version by being, in our presence. There are people that I know that I always just say to them, I become a better person when I'm in your presence. You make me feel good, and I feel like a better person. How can we be that for other people in their lives and help them rise to the next level? Because again, all boats rise together. So if we're focused on that, and focused like you are, Rocky, in helping other people understand how they can look at their business revenue different, how they can manage their money different, you're making changes in people's lives. Dave Ramsey with the, debt-free and them being able to get to a point where they're debt-free in their lives. It not only changes their current family situation, it's changing generations. That is a huge legacy of an impact that we're leaving for other people. So that's what legacy means to me.
And I think as business owners, you can change the legacy of your employees. And of course, if you're doing that, then they're going to be much more committed to you. Your business can be a legacy for your family, but in order for that to happen, you've got to be profitable so that there is something to leave. And then you've got to spend the time to make sure that not all kids want to be in our businesses, right? And so it's making those appropriate decisions and not forcing people into what you want them to do, but more so what might work better for them over time.
Yeah, and I do think it's important for us to teach our children how to be stewards of money. Because if we're building this wealth and we're building this legacy and we're building this so that we can leave that to them, it is our responsibility, not only in their businesses, whatever we're learning, we should be teaching our children how to do in their businesses and their families, because it would be like winning the lottery. If a child never even learned how to manage wealth because they didn't have it, but you always had it, and all of a sudden now you're gone and you leave it to them, it's like they win the lottery and they're going to spend it all and it's gone because they've never learned how to steward it. So our responsibility is not only building it for ourselves and learning for ourselves how to do that, and Profit First is a great way to do that, but then teaching our children how to be those stewards.
And we were very intentional with our kids, and we taught them how to build their own wealth over time. And literally, we did it the same kind of system. You know, they had envelopes. One was for spending, one was for saving, and one was to be charitable. And they've learned that this is how you allocate your money according to what you need. And over time, they watch those savings envelopes get super, super fast. And now my kids are in college. And unlike most kids who are going to come out with massive amounts of debt, they're going to come out with pretty nice size, accounts of assets because they've learned to save. They've learned not to spend as much, and they're being good stewards of their money. And we knew up front that that was something that we'd have to work on with our kids because we're going to, at some point, probably end up leaving them a bunch. And we did not want that outcome that you talked about. Mm-hmm. So it's important. And the same thing, whether or not they're going to be in your business or not, you still need them to learn how to steward what you leave behind and be able to handle that. If people would like to learn more about all your work, find your websites and so forth, what is the best way for them to do that?
I'm going to make it very easy for your listeners, Rocky. Everything is Lead Up for Women everywhere. So you can go to leadupforwomen.com. You can find me on LinkedIn under Lead Up for Women. You can also find me under Colleen Biggs, if you went looking for me there. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Lead Up for Women. Everywhere out there, Lead Up for Women. We would love to connect with you, have you follow us, get some of our daily inspiration, sign up for some of our free events. I always say if learning is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you. So if you want to be a leader in your industry and whatever it is that you're doing in your family and your community, we should constantly be learning, and we have those opportunities through Lead Up for Women.
And I will put a link to it in the show notes to make it easy for people to find you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been wonderful. I really enjoyed this time with you. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, did you hear what Colleen said? Working together will allow us all to succeed. So let's stop trying to show one another up and support each other like the women do. Check out Colleen's site, leadupforwomen.com. As always, Profit First is a game changer. Colleen was able to handle taxes, increase sales, and enjoy the profits of her company by taking vacations. What are you waiting for? Let's get your profit machine revved up so you can enjoy the spoils of the Profit First system. Remember, you don't need more resources, you need to be more resourceful. We focus on the bottom line. If you want a done-for-you service, you can have me as your Chief Profitability Officer because you have your zone of genius and want to spend your time doing what you love. I only work with a handful of clients, so they get my full attention. I work with business owners who have or are growing to $500,000 to $5 million in revenue. You can use the scheduling link in the show notes to get on my calendar for a good fit conversation to see if I'm the right person to support you and how I can help you. If you want to learn about living the life of your dreams, check out my other podcast, Richer Soul. As we close out, let's repeat the mantra. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Have an abundant and profitable week.